Welcome back to the long road and to the Camino de Santiago. Last time, we followed the Arga River from Zubiri through medieval villages and into the old city of Pamplona. Tonight, we leave the city behind. Settle in, let your breathing slow, and let the morning carry you out. We climb to the Alto del Perdón, the hill of forgiveness, where the wind turbines turn above a ridge of limestone and a line of iron pilgrims walks forever against the sky. Then, down through farmland and wine country to the ancient bridge town of Puente la Reina, 24 kilometers under the autumn sun. If you enjoy these walks, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next stage. Now, let the morning find you in Pamplona. The plane trees are casting long shadows, and it is time to walk. The morning is warm and clear in Pamplona. You leave the old city through the university district, where the wide streets are quiet and the plane trees cast long shadows across the pavement. The air smells faintly of coffee and cut grass. Somewhere behind you, a church bell strikes the hour, its sound fading slowly into the still air. You cross the Parque de la Taconera, where the old city walls are softened by ivy and the moat has been turned into a garden. Peacocks walk on the grass, their tails folded, their small heads turning to watch you pass. The park is quiet at this hour. A jogger passes in the opposite direction. The sound of her footsteps fades quickly. 24 kilometers lie ahead of you today. 24 kilometers from this city to a bridge over a river. There is no hurry. The city falls away in layers. First, the old quarter, with its narrow streets and balconied houses. Then the newer districts, with their wide avenues and roundabouts. Then the suburbs, where the buildings thin and the spaces between them widen. And then, almost without noticing, you are in the countryside. The pavement gives way to a paved road as you leave the last of the city behind. The buildings thin. A few apartment blocks stand at the edge of the suburbs, their balconies hung with laundry drying in the early sun. Then open land appears on both sides of the road, and the city releases you. The University of Navarra campus fades behind you. Its modern buildings, pale concrete and glass, give way to older houses with terracotta rooftops and small fenced gardens. A dog barks once, lazily, from behind a fence. The sound does not repeat. The path becomes a gravel track. Your footsteps change, softer now, a quiet crunch with each step. The track runs between low stone walls, and beyond them wheat fields stretch away in every direction, golden and heavy-headed in early autumn. The rhythm of walking returns. You found it on the first day and lost it in the city. Now on the open track, it comes back, that steady, unhurried cadence that carries you forward without effort. Left, right, the body remembers. You can see the Sierra del Perdón ahead. It sits along the southern horizon, a long, low ridge with the shapes of wind turbines visible along its crest. They look small from here, toy-like. You will be among them by midday. The morning light falls across the wheat in long golden bands. Where the path curves, the angle of the light changes and the wheat shifts from gold to amber to pale green, as though you are walking through a painting that repaints itself with every step. The sky is enormous above the fields. Without buildings or trees to frame it, it stretches from horizon to horizon, pale blue at the edges, deepening overhead. A few high clouds drift from west to east, thin and white, barely moving. You watch them for a while as you walk. They are in no hurry either. The morning air is warm, but not yet hot. A faint haze softens the horizon. The kind of haze that will burn off by midday, leaving the sky a deep, clear blue. September in Navarra. The summer is ending, but it has not yet let go. But that is later. For now, the path is level and easy, and the morning is still cool. A light breeze moves through the wheat, making it sway in slow waves that travel from one side of the field to the other. You walk and watch the waves. After 5 kilometers, you reach Cizur Menor. It is a residential suburb of Pamplona, unremarkable in most ways, but it has been a stopping point for pilgrims since the 12th century. Some things endure. Somewhere to your right, a rooster crows. The sound is bright and absurd in the still morning, a declaration of something important that only the rooster understands. It crows again, and then is silent. The church of San Miguel Arcangel stands at the center of the village. It is a fortified church, thick stone walls, a crenellated tower, narrow slit windows that let in light but could also serve as defenses. It was built by the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, the same order that maintained pilgrim hospitals across the Holy Land. The Knights arrived here in the 12th century. They built a monastery and a hostel for pilgrims, and for over 600 years they offered shelter and care to anyone walking the road to Santiago. Then, in 1836, the Spanish government expelled all religious orders from their properties. The doors closed. The tradition ended. Or so it seemed. In 1999, the Knights of Malta returned. They reopened the hostel beside the church and resumed their hospitality, picking up a thread that had been cut 163 years earlier. The pilgrims came back, as they always do. You pause in the shade of the church doorway. The stone is cool against your back. The recently restored 13th century doorway arches above you, its carved stone softened by 800 years of weather. Someone carved these figures. Someone set these stones. Their names are forgotten, but the door remains. 5 kilometers behind you now, 19 ahead. The climb toward the Sierra del Perdón begins here. Gentle at first, the track rising almost imperceptibly through farmland. The path leaves Cizur Menor on a dirt track that winds between wheat fields. The grain has been harvested in some of them, leaving pale stubble. In others, the wheat still stands, its color deepening from gold to amber in the September light. The track passes a grove of Scots pines. Their trunks are straight and tall, their bark the color of rust. The shade beneath them is cool and resinous, and the ground is carpeted with dry needles that crunch softly underfoot. You pass through the grove and back into the sunlight. A crested lark rises from the stubble to your left. It climbs vertically, stuttering its song as it goes, a rapid tumbling sequence of notes that seems too complex for such a small bird. It hangs in the air for a moment, singing, then drops back to the earth and vanishes among the stalks. The fields here are immense. You can walk for 10 minutes without a bend in the path, the track running straight between the wheat like a line drawn with a ruler. The horizon is wide and flat to the north, where the Pamplona basin stretches out, but ahead the land rises, and the Sierra fills more and more of the sky. You hear the crested larks before you see them. Their song comes from everywhere and nowhere, tumbling down from an empty sky. They are the voice of these open fields, persistent, cheerful, undimmed by the heat. The track is dry and firm underfoot. Pale gravel, packed hard by summer heat and the passage of many feet. Your walking poles tap a steady rhythm. The sound is metronomic, soothing. Tap, 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 tap. Boxwood hedges line the farm lanes here, their dark green leaves dense and glossy. They have been planted as windbreaks, and they do their work well. The air in their shelter is warmer, stiller, carrying the dry scent of sun-baked earth. A distant tractor moves across a field to your left, trailing a plume of pale dust. The sound of its engine reaches you a moment later, a low growl that fades and returns as the machine turns at the end of each furrow. It is a companionable sound, evidence of someone else at work on this warm morning. The climb from Zaricuigui to the summit is 5 kilometers. That sounds short, but the gradient is steady and the path is rough, and the sun is high now. You settle into the climb the way you would settle into a conversation, patiently, without rushing to the point. The ground rises. Not steeply, but you feel it in your calves, a slight extra effort with each step. The Sierra del Perdón is drawing you toward it. Rosemary grows along the path margins. Its pale blue flowers have mostly faded, but the silvery green leaves are still fragrant. You brush your hand against a bush as you pass. The scent rises, sharp and clean, and clings to your fingers. Ahead, the village of Zaricuigui appears on the lower slopes of the Sierra. Stone houses the color of pale honey, clustered around a church tower. It is a small village. Perhaps 50 people live here. 8 kilometers now, 16 to go. The path enters the village through a narrow lane between stone walls. The walls are warm to the touch, holding the morning sun. Ivy trails from the top of one wall, and a fig tree leans over another, its branches heavy with dark fruit. Zaricuigui is quiet. A cat sits on a doorstep, eyes half closed. A window is open somewhere above, and from it comes the faint sound of a radio, a woman's voice singing in Spanish, the words indistinct. The church of San Andres stands at the center of the village. It is Romanesque, built in the 12th century, its heavy wooden door set within a rounded stone arch. Inside, a baptismal font has been carved from a single block of stone. One piece of rock, hollowed by hand, smooth from centuries of water and touch. This church is the oldest thing in the village. Almost everything else was built later, in the 15th and 16th centuries. The reason is the Black Death. In the 14th century, plague swept through Navarra and emptied Zaricuigui. The disease killed so many people that the village was nearly abandoned. Only the church survived from the time before. The stone houses you see around you now were built by those who came later, who resettled this quiet place on the hillside and started again. The stone houses of Zaricuigui have thick walls and deep-set windows, designed to keep out the summer heat and the winter cold. The walls are 1 meter thick in places. They hold the temperature of the earth itself, cool when the world outside is burning, warm when the frost comes. You look at the church door. Its heavy wooden planks are darkened by age, held together by iron studs. The rounded stone arch above it is simple and unadorned, the Romanesque style at its most honest. Function before decoration, strength before beauty. The door has opened and closed for 800 years, and it opens still. You fill your water bottle at the village fountain. This is the last village before the summit. The climb from here is steady and exposed, and the day is growing warm. The water is cold and clear. You drink, and the coolness spreads through you. The path leaves Zaricuigui, and the climb begins in earnest. The gravel track gives way to a rockier surface, and the gradient steepens. Holm oak scrubland flanks the path on both sides, low, dense, evergreen bushes that barely reach your waist. The air smells different here. Wild thyme carpets the dry ground between the rocks, and with each footstep you release its scent. It mixes with the sharper fragrance of rosemary and the faint, resinous smell of the Scots pines that grow on the northern approach to the Sierra. The path steepens. You shorten your stride and lean forward slightly. The gravel underfoot gives way to rockier ground, pale stones embedded in compacted earth, the beginning of the mountain's true surface showing through the thin skin of soil. The path narrows. Loose stones shift beneath your feet, and you place each step with care. The surface is pale gray limestone, exposed bedrock scored with erosion channels. This rock is old. Eocene limestone and sandstone formed roughly 55 million years ago when these hills were beneath a shallow sea. Wild thyme is everywhere on this slope. It grows in low mats between the rocks, its tiny leaves gray-green, its stems woody and tough. Each footstep releases a burst of fragrance that rises and disperses in the moving air. The path smells like a kitchen garden. The Sierra del Perdón is part of a fold system created when the Iberian and European tectonic plates collided to form the Pyrenees. The ridge runs from east to west, a natural barrier between the Pamplona Basin to the north and the broad Val d'Isarbe Valley to the south. You are walking across a geological boundary. Behind you, the flat floor of the Pamplona Basin, filled with younger sediments deposited by the Arga and its tributaries. Ahead, the older folded rock of the ridge, pushed up from the earth by forces that worked for millions of years. The vegetation thins as you climb. The holm oaks give way to Kermes oak, stunted evergreen shrubs, tough enough to survive the relentless summit gusts. They grip the rocky soil with tenacious roots. Gorse grows between them, its seed pods dry and crackling in the September heat. Your shirt is damp with sweat. The breeze cools it against your skin, and the sensation is pleasant, cold, and warm at once. The body's own cooling system working exactly as it should. You do not fight the effort. You lean into it. You feel the breeze strengthen. It comes from the west, cool against your warm skin, pressing the fabric of your shirt against your chest. With every step higher, the air moves faster. You pause to catch your breath and turn to look behind you. The view has opened up while you were focused on your feet. The Pamplona Basin stretches below, vast and luminous, its fields and rivers shimmering in the late morning light. You can see the cathedral spire. You can trace the path you walked this morning. It seems impossible that you were there just hours ago. Lavender grows on the stony hillsides. It is past flowering now. The blooms faded to gray-brown, but the stems are still fragrant when the breeze stirs them. Lavandula latifolia, the broad-leafed lavender, at home on these dry, sun-baked slopes. Your shadow shortens as the sun climbs toward noon. It walks beside you, compressed and dark, stepping over the same rocks, leaning into the same slope. Soon it will be directly beneath you, and for a moment the two of you will occupy the same space. A griffin vulture passes overhead. You hear it before you see it, a soft rush of air through enormous feathers. You look up and there it is, riding a thermal, its wingspan nearly 3 meters, the tips of its primary feathers spread like fingers against the sky. It circles once, twice, and drifts away to the west without a single wing beat. The air is thinner here, or seems to be. Your lungs work a little harder. Your heart beats a little faster. But there is no discomfort, only the honest effort of the climb. The body is doing what it was made to do. The path switchbacks now, curving left and right across the slope. Each turn reveals a little more of the view behind you. Pamplona appears, its rooftops and spires catching the light, its edges blurring into the haze of the basin floor. Think of the wind. It has been here longer than the turbines, longer than the chapel, longer than the pilgrims. It poured across this ridge when the rock was still beneath the sea. It shaped the hills and dried the soil and bent the scrub oaks into their twisted forms. The turbines harvest it now, turning air into electricity, but the wind does not notice. It simply blows. Your breathing deepens. Your heart beats a little harder. These are not unpleasant sensations. They are the body doing what it was made to do, carrying you uphill, step by step, toward the sky. A short-toed snake eagle hovers over the scrubland to your right. It hangs in the air, motionless, wings adjusting constantly to the gusts, scanning the rocky ground below for movement. It is a summer visitor to this sierra, Soon it will leave for Africa, but today it hunts. The sound of the wind turbines reaches you before you can see them clearly. A low, rhythmic hum, a drone that rises and falls with the gusts, constant and strangely calming. It blends with the rush of air across the ridge until the two sounds are almost one. The turbines are enormous up here. Their towers are white steel, rising 30 meters or more, and the blades sweep in slow arcs that seem almost lazy, though each blade is longer than the wingspan of the griffin vulture that soared past you earlier. The scale is disorienting. You feel small on this ridge. The final stretch of the climb is steep. The path is rough underfoot, exposed bedrock and angular fragments of limestone broken by frost and the roots of scrub vegetation. You lean into the slope. The breeze is a steady pressure now. And then the ground levels and you are there. The inscription catches the light. The letters are cut into metal, and the late morning sun fills them with a thin line of brightness. You trace the words with your eyes once more. Donde se cruza el camino del viento con el de las estrellas. You may not remember the Spanish, but you will remember what it means. The Alto del Perdón, the hill of forgiveness, 790 meters above the sea, 12 kilometers behind you, 12 ahead, the exact midpoint of the day. The summit is a long, open ridge. The wind pours across it from the west, steady and cool, pressing against you like a living thing. 40 wind turbines stand in a line along the crest, their blades turning slowly in the constant current. The hum fills the air. It is everywhere, a deep vibration that you feel in your chest as much as hear with your ears. You stand still. The effort of the climb drains from your legs. Your breathing slows. The sweat on your skin cools in the breeze. The view is enormous. To the north, the Pamplona basin spreads out below you, its flat floor quilted with green and gold fields, the Arga River glinting in its channel, the city itself a pale smudge of rooftops and steeples. Beyond it, the foothills of the Pyrenees rise in blue-gray ranks toward the mountains you crossed days ago. The metal figures are life-sized. You can stand among them as though you have joined the procession. For a moment, you are one of them, another pilgrim on the ridge, leaning into the wind, walking westward. The only difference is that you will move on and they will stay. You have been walking for 3 days before this one, and in that time the Pyrenees have been a constant presence behind you, a wall of mountains on the northern horizon. From up here, you can see them clearly. Their peaks are gray-blue in the distance, and a faint line of snow traces the highest ridges. That is where you began. That is how far you have come. To the south, a different landscape. The Val d'Isarbe Valley opens wide and fertile, a patchwork of wheat fields and vineyards and villages. You can see the terracotta rooftops of Uterga, Murazabo, Obanos, the red-brown plowed earth between them, the green rows of grapevines, everything laid out below you like a map you're about to walk into. The iron of the sculpture has weathered to a dark brown, almost black. In the morning it is a silhouette against the eastern sky. In the evening it faces the sunset. Right now at midday the figures are lit from above, their edges sharp, their surfaces warm to the touch if you reach out and place your hand against them. And there, at the summit, the sculpture. A procession of metal silhouettes stands along the ridge, cut from flat sheets of iron, darkened by weather and time. They are pilgrims. They walk in a line from east to west, leaning into the same wind that presses against you now. Some carry staffs, some ride horses, some walk alone, some walk together. The sculptor was Vicente Galbete, a Navarrese artist. He created this piece in 1996, and it tells the entire history of the pilgrimage in a single line of figures. At the eastern end, a lone medieval figure searches for the route. He is the first pilgrim, uncertain, feeling his way. Next comes a group of three, showing the pilgrimage's growth in the early centuries. Then mounted merchants from the medieval trading era, when the road to Santiago was also a road of commerce. Then a solitary figure, representing the long centuries of decline, the 14th to the 20th, when wars, plagues, and changing times reduced the flow of pilgrims to a trickle. And at the western end, two modern pilgrims. They carry backpacks. They lean forward into the wind, just as you do. They are you. Below the sculpture, an inscription is set into the stone. It reads, "Donde se cruza el camino del viento con el de las estrellas," where the path of the wind crosses with the path of the stars. The path of the stars. The Camino de Santiago, the way of St. James, follows the Milky Way across the sky. Medieval pilgrims navigated by it, walking westward beneath the river of stars each night. And here, on this ridge, the wind pours from the west along the same line, crossing the pilgrim road at the highest point. The sculpture was commissioned jointly by the company that built the wind turbines and the Friends of the Camino de Santiago, an unlikely partnership, industry and pilgrimage, standing together on the same ridge, sharing the same steady current of air. You linger here. There is no reason to hurry. The wind hums through the turbine blades. The metal pilgrims lean forward on their ridge, as they have done for 30 years, silent and patient. The view stretches to every horizon. Sit down if you like. The flat rocks near the sculpture are warm from the sun, and the view asks nothing of you except that you look at it. The turbine blades turn overhead. The metal pilgrims walk their silent walk. Time passes, or seems not to. The name of this place, the Hill of Forgiveness, comes from a chapel that once stood near the summit. It was dedicated to Our Lady of Forgiveness, Nuestra Señora del Perdón, and it was built in the 13th century. Pilgrims who reached the top were said to receive absolution for their sins. The chapel was destroyed during the Napoleonic Wars between 1808 and 1814. French and Spanish armies fought across Navarra, and the small hilltop chapel was caught in the violence. Little of it survived. But a pedestal built from its remaining stones serves as a shrine, and each year on the 30th of August, locals climb to this ridge to honor the memory of the Lady of Forgiveness. The descent has taken you from 790 meters to 500. Nearly 300 meters of elevation lost in a steep and rocky 2 kilometers. Your knees know this, your ankles know this, but the flat ground ahead is a promise that the body accepts gratefully. Think of all the pilgrims who have stood where you stand. 800 years of them. They climbed this same slope, felt this same wind, looked out over this same valley. The chapel is gone. The wind turbines are new, but the ridge is the same, and the view is the same, and the feeling of reaching the top after a long climb is the same. An Iberian wall lizard basks on a warm limestone rock near your feet. It is motionless, its tiny body absorbing the sun's heat, its skin patterned in green and brown. It watches you with one bright eye and does not move. You take a last look. The Pamplona basin behind you, the Valdezarbe Valley ahead, the metal pilgrims walking their endless walk along the ridge. Then you turn south and begin the descent. The descent has left its mark on your body. Your quadriceps are warm and slightly tight. Your toes, pressed forward in your boots during the steep sections, pulse with a dull awareness. These are not complaints. They are the body's honest record of what it has done. The descent from the Alto del Perdón is steep. It is the most difficult footing of the day. The path drops sharply from the summit, a narrow track of loose scree and eroded limestone steps. Each step requires attention. Loose stones shift and clatter beneath your feet, sliding downhill in small cascades. You plant your poles firmly and lower yourself from step to step. The weathered limestone is pale gray, scored with deep erosion channels. Angular fragments lie scattered across the path, broken by frost action over countless winters. The rock is old, the same Eocene stone you climbed through on the other side, but here the southern exposure has dried and cracked it, and the centuries of pilgrim footfall have worn it smooth in places. You descend slowly. There is a meditative quality to this kind of walking, where each step must be chosen. Your attention narrows to the next foothold, the next placement of your pole, the next shift of weight. The mind empties of everything except the ground immediately before you. The wind falls away as you drop below the ridgeline. The change is sudden and startling. One moment the air is pressing against you, constant and cool. The next, stillness, warmth. The sun on your face without the tempering breeze. The silence is deeper here. The hum of the turbines fades behind you, absorbed by the hillside. The southern slope smells different from the northern side. Drier, warmer. The scent of sun-baked clay and dry grass, of aromatic herbs growing in shallow soil. It is the smell of the Mediterranean creeping northward into Navarra, carried in the soil and the seeds and the angle of the sun. The path between Uturga and Murazabal is the quietest stretch of the day. No villages, no other walkers, just the track and the fields and the wide sky. You can hear your own breathing, your own footsteps, the faint rustle of dry grass at the path margins. Nothing else. Iberian wall lizards scatter from the rocks as you pass. They move in quick, jerky bursts, darting into crevices and vanishing. The warm limestone is their territory. You are just passing through. The scrubland returns Kermes oak and gorse, and then lower, the taller holm oaks reappear. Their shade is welcome. You step from the bright, exposed hillside into a corridor of dark green canopy, and the temperature drops by several degrees. The path eases. The gradient softens. The loose scree gives way to packed earth and gravel, and your footsteps become quieter, easier. Your knees are grateful. The land opens before you. After the confinement of the steep descent, with its narrow path and rocky walls, the sudden breadth of the valley is a relief. Fields stretch away to left and right, golden with stubble and green with late crops. The sky is enormous. The fields around Uturga and Lagarda are the agricultural heart of the Valdezarbe Valley. For 1,000 years, the rich alluvial soil here has been plowed and planted, harvested and plowed again. Wheat, barley, grapes, olives. The cycle turns with the seasons, as reliable as the sun. A red kite passes over the fields below, its forked tail tilting as it quarters the farmland, searching for movement in the stubble. It banks and turns, effortless, its russet wings catching the light. The church stands in a field of dry grass that has never been built on. No village grew around it, no market formed at its doors. It has always been alone, set apart, a place between places. Perhaps that was the intention, a sanctuary at the edge of the world, where the dying could be cared for and the dead could rest in peace. The red-brown earth of the Valdezarbe Valley spreads out before you now. The color comes from iron oxide in the weathered sedimentary rock. Clay and alluvial soils wash down from the surrounding hills over millennia. This rich soil feeds the wheat fields and the vineyards that stretch between the villages ahead. The colors of this valley are extraordinary. The red-brown earth, the golden stubble, the dark green of holm oak on the distant hillsides, the orange terracotta of the village rooftops, and above it all, the deep blue of the September sky, crossed by a single contrail dissolving slowly from west to east. 15 kilometers behind you, 9 ahead. The steep descent is finished. The path ahead is gentle, undulating farmland, and the hardest part of the day is done. Uterga appears ahead, a small hilltop village of stone houses overlooking the valley. Its buildings are the color of warm sand, with terracotta rooftops that glow orange in the afternoon light. You saw these rooftops from the summit. Now you are walking toward them. The village is quiet. The streets are narrow and cobbled, running between houses built of local sandstone in the 15th and 16th centuries. Deep eaves shade the upper windows. Timber lintels frame the doorways. A cat watches you from a garden wall. The late afternoon sun warms the golden stone of the village. Long shadows stretch across the lane. The air here is still and heavy, sheltered from the ridge gusts by the surrounding hills. You hear a sheep bell somewhere below the village, a faint rhythmic clinking. You sit on a stone bench by the village church and rest. The stone is warm. The shade of the church wall falls across your shoulders. You take a long drink of water and feel it move through you, cool and clean, replacing what the mountain took. The sheep are in the fields below Uterga, grazing among the stubble. You cannot see them yet, but their bells carry up the hillside. The sound is older than the village. People have kept sheep in this valley for thousands of years. Bells are different now, the flocks perhaps smaller, but the sound is the same. You pass through Uterga and continue along a dirt farm track through open fields. The path is level and easy, a welcome relief after the mountain. The soil is dark and rich on either side. Plowed furrows stretch away in long straight lines. The sheep become visible now, a flock of perhaps 100, scattered across a hillside pasture below the path. They are white against the golden grass, barely moving, grazing in the slow, methodical way of sheep everywhere. Their bells reach you in waves, sometimes louder, sometimes softer, as the breeze shifts. The tiny hamlet of Lagarda appears to your left, a handful of stone houses in the open farmland, no more than a dozen buildings. It is so small it seems to be an extension of the fields themselves, as if the houses grew from the same earth that feeds the crops. European bee-eaters sit on the telegraph wires ahead of you. They are extraordinary birds, iridescent blue, green, and gold, their colors shifting as they turn. They perch in a row, chattering softly, preparing to migrate south for the winter. In a few weeks, they will cross the Strait of Gibraltar into Africa. For now, they sit on the wires in the Spanish sun and wait. The afternoon light has changed. It is richer now, deeper, the shadows longer and more defined. Each stone in the walls beside the path casts its own small shadow. The texture of the landscape sharpens. Every furrow in the plowed fields, every leaf on the vines, stands out with a clarity that the flat light of midday could not give. The arcade casts a pattern of light and shadow on the ground around the church. 33 arches, 33 bright intervals, 33 shadows. The pattern shifts as the sun moves. It has been shifting every day for more than 850 years, a slow clock written in stone and light. 18 kilometers behind you now, 6 to go. The village of Murazabal lies ahead, and with it, a choice. Murazabal is a quiet farming village. Its stone houses set along a single street. Fig trees lean over garden walls, their branches heavy with late-season fruit. The scent is unmistakable, that rich, sweet, heavy smell of ripe figs warming in the afternoon sun. It fills the lane. A fig has split open on the branch, revealing the pink interior, soft and glistening. A wasp explores it lazily, crawling over the sweet flesh. The scent is almost intoxicating, dense, sugary, alive with the warmth of the afternoon. You breathe it in and walk on. From here, a short detour leads to one of the most mysterious buildings on the entire Camino, Santa Maria de Eunate. You take the turning. The path crosses open farmland, flat and quiet. The light is softer now, the afternoon deepening toward evening. And then, standing alone in a field with no village around it, no town, no other building in sight, you see the church. Santa Maria de Eunate. It is small and perfect and utterly alone. An octagonal Romanesque church, built of dressed stone, surrounded by a freestanding arcade of 33 arches. It sits in the middle of a field, like something from a dream separate from the ordinary world. The name comes from the Basque language, Eunate. It means 100 doors, a reference to the arches of the arcade that surrounds the church, though there are 33, not 100. Perhaps the name was always a poetic exaggeration. Perhaps there were once more arches than survive today. No one knows for certain. The church was built around 1170. Its octagonal plan is unusual. Most Romanesque churches in Navarra are rectangular, and it echoes the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. This echo has led to centuries of speculation about who built it and why. The cobbled lanes of the old town are worn smooth by centuries of feet. The stones are uneven, shaped by use rather than by design, each one settled into its place by the weight of everyone who has walked on it. You feel them through the soles of your boots, a gentle unevenness, like walking on the back of a sleeping animal. For generations, people linked Eunate to the Knights Templar. The octagonal shape, the crusading connection, the air of mystery it seemed to fit. But there is no documentation of Templar presence in this part of Navarra. None at all. The Knights Hospitaller, however, were active in the area, and they may have operated the church as a funerary chapel and pilgrim hospital. Think of the two paths meeting here. One came through Roncesvalles, through the Pyrenean passes, through the green valleys of Navarra. The other came through the Somport Pass, through the dry hills of Aragon, through different villages and different landscapes. And here in Obanos they converge, two streams joining a single river. Excavations in the field around the church have uncovered pilgrim burials. Bodies laid in the earth, some bearing scallop shells, the symbol of Santiago. These were pilgrims who died on the road and were buried here, in the shadow of this strange, beautiful church. Eunate cared for them in death as it had in life. You walk around the outside of the arcade. The arches are semicircular, supported by columns with carved capitals. Each capital is different, leaves animals, abstract patterns. The stone is warm and golden in the late afternoon light. You run your hand along one of the columns. It is smooth, worn by weather and by the hands of everyone who has touched it before you. Inside, the church is cool and dim. The vault above is 8-ribbed, inspired by the art of the Cordoban Caliphate, an echo of Islamic architecture in a Christian church. Chessboard decoration runs along the walls, a pattern typical of Navarra and Aragon, found nowhere else in Europe. The geometry of the building is precise and deliberate. 8 walls, 8 sections of roof, 8 windows. The number 8 was significant in medieval Christian symbolism. It represented resurrection, the 8th day, the day beyond the 7 days of creation when the world begins again. To build an octagonal church was to build a symbol of eternal life. The silence inside is deep. The thick stone walls absorb every sound. The light enters through narrow windows, falling in pale shafts across the stone floor. You stand in the center of the octagon and breathe. The air smells of old stone and centuries. There is something about this place that resists explanation. It is not large. It is not grand. It is simply itself, a small perfect octagon standing alone in a field, surrounded by arches, holding its silence. It has stood here for more than 850 years. It will stand here long after you leave. You step back outside into the warm air and the late light. The field around the church is golden with dry grass. A breeze stirs the grass and moves on. You take a last look at the arcade, at the octagonal roof, at the quiet perfection of it, and then you turn back toward the path. A single bird sings from the field beside the church. You do not know what kind it is. Its song is a simple phrase repeated 3 times, then silence. Then the phrase again. It sounds like a question asked patiently, without expectation of an answer. The detour back to the main route is short. The path rejoins the Camino and continues west through gentle farmland. Grapevines appear on both sides of the track now, their leaves turning red at the edges in early autumn. The harvest is coming. In a few weeks, these fields will be full of workers picking the fruit. 20 kilometers behind you, 4 to go. The village of Obanos rises ahead on a gentle hill above the plain. Obanos is a handsome village of stone houses and cobbled streets. Gothic doorways are carved into the facades, and coats of arms are set above the lintels of the older houses. The stone here is local sandstone, golden to pale gray, and it catches the evening light with particular warmth. The Gothic church of San Juan Bautista presides over the central plaza. Its bell tower rises above the rooftops, and as you enter the village, the bell strikes the hour. The sound rolls across the valley, clear and deep, echoing from the stone facades before fading into the open farmland beyond. Obanos is a place of convergence. Here, the Camino Aragonés, arriving from the Somport Pass to the east, merges with the Camino Frances, 2 rivers of pilgrims becoming one. From this village westward, all pilgrims walk the same road to Santiago. Think of all the routes that converge here, from Paris and Tours, from Le Puy and Vézelay, from Arles and Toulouse, through the mountains, across the plains, through 100 villages. And here in this quiet Navarrese village on a low hill, they become one. The path through Obanos follows narrow cobbled lanes between stone houses. Window boxes hold geraniums, their red flowers bright against the gray stone. An old man sits in a doorway, watching the evening come in. He nods as you pass. You nod in return. No words are needed. The walk from Obanos to Puente la Reina takes less than an hour. It is a gentle descent through vineyards and open fields. The kind of walking that asks almost nothing of the body. Your mind drifts. The path carries you. Obanos has its own legend. In the 14th century, a noblewoman named Felicia of Aquitaine walked to Santiago de Compostela and was so changed by the journey that she refused to return to the ducal court. She chose the life of a pilgrim instead, serving others on the road. Her brother Gillen pursued her. He found her here in the fields near Obanos and tried to persuade her to come home. When she refused, he was overcome by fury and struck her down. The moment passed, the fury left him, and Gillen was consumed by remorse so deep it shaped the rest of his life. The Calle Mayor is the spine of the town. Everything connects to it. The side streets, the churches, the fountains, the houses. If you walk its full length, you have seen all of Puente la Reina. It is a town that can be understood in a single straight line. He made his own pilgrimage to Santiago. Then he returned to the hillside near Obanos, built a hermitage at a place called Arnotegui, and lived as a hermit for the rest of his days, serving the same pilgrims his sister had served. The story has been performed as a play in the streets of Obanos since 1962, The Mystery of Obanos. Over 1,000 villagers put on medieval costumes and retell the legend each summer. It is declared a festival of national tourist interest, but it began as something simpler, a village remembering its story, keeping it alive by acting it out year after year. The village settles into evening around you. The heat of the day is fading. The stone walls release their stored warmth slowly, and the air between the houses is still and gentle. A door opens somewhere, and the smell of cooking drifts into the lane. Garlic, olive oil, something slow and savory. A European siren sings from a rooftop above you, a small yellow-green finch, its song a rapid, tinkling stream of notes that spills from the eaves like water. You pause and listen. The bird sings on. You leave Obanos on a gentle gravel path that descends toward the valley floor. The evening light is golden now, long and low, casting your shadow far ahead of you on the pale track. 4 kilometers to go, less than an hour of walking. Vineyards line both sides of the path. The grapevines are heavy with fruit, dark clusters of tempranillo and garnacha hanging beneath the reddening leaves. The air smells of warm earth and ripe grapes, that faintly sweet, faintly dusty scent of a vineyard in late summer. The path descends almost imperceptibly. You would not notice the gradient if you were not paying attention, but your legs notice. They move with a little less effort, a little more ease. Gravity is helping now, carrying you gently toward the river. The path is easy. Your legs move with a rhythm that requires no thought. After 20 kilometers, the body finds its own pace, a gear that is neither fast nor slow, just steady. You are tired, but it is a good tiredness, the tiredness of a body that has been used well. The land flattens as you approach the Arga River. The vineyards give way to open fields, and then you see the town ahead, Puente la Reina, the Bridge of the Queen. The town was built for pilgrims. It was founded in the 11th century as a planned settlement, its single main street, the Calle Mayor, running between 2 fortified gate towers. The purpose was simple: to shelter those walking to Santiago and to provide them safe passage across the Arga River. Queen Dona Mayor ordered the construction of the bridge. She was the wife of King Sancho III of Navarra, who reigned from 1004 to 1035. She saw the pilgrims struggling to cross the Arga, and she commanded that a bridge be built. The town grew around it and took its name from her gift. The town layout has barely changed in 1,000 years. A single axis east to west with the church at one end and the bridge at the other. Everything a pilgrim needed was arranged along this one street: shelter, food, prayer, and safe passage across the river. The simplicity is beautiful. You enter Puente la Reina from the east, passing the Church of the Crucifix. It stands at the entrance to the town, built by the Knights Templar in the 12th century. Its stone walls are thick and plain, the doorway simple. Inside the church, there is a crucifix unlike any you have seen. The cross is shaped like a Y, not a T, the arms branching upward at angles, the figure of Christ stretched between them. It is believed to have been brought from Germany by a medieval pilgrim, carried all this distance as an act of devotion. The unusual shape may represent an older Germanic tradition, a way of depicting the crucifixion that preceded the familiar Latin cross. You continue along the Calle Mayor. The narrow street channels a cool draft between tall medieval buildings of golden sandstone, 3 and 4 stories high. Arcaded ground floors line both sides, their stone arches worn smooth by centuries of passage. The shade is deep and welcome. The buildings are old. The town plan has barely changed since it was laid out in the 11th century. You are walking the same street that pilgrims have walked for 1,000 years, between the same stone facades toward the same river. The Calle Mayor runs the full length of the town, from the Church of the Crucifix at the eastern gate to the bridge at the western end. Along the way, the Church of Santiago holds a carved Gothic portal, its stonework darkened by age. You glance at it as you pass. Every surface here has a story. The street narrows as it approaches the river. The buildings on either side seem to lean inward, their upper stories almost touching. The light between them is dim and cool, a corridor of shadow that smells of old stone and river water. And then the buildings part, and the sky opens, and the bridge is before you. And then the street opens, and you see the bridge. There is a seventh arch, submerged beneath the waterline, visible only when the river is low. The builders placed it there to allow the passage of floodwater in the spring melt. Even hidden, it does its work. The bridge has stood for nearly 1,000 years, and no flood has taken it. The Puente de los Peregrinos, the Bridge of the Pilgrims, 6 semicircular arches of dressed stone spanning the Arga River, 110 meters long, 4 meters wide, nearly 1,000 years old. The evening deepens. The first star appears in the east, faint and tentative, barely visible against the blue. Then another. The path of the stars is beginning its nightly journey across the sky, the same path that guided the pilgrims who crossed this bridge before you. It is a Romanesque bridge, built in the 11th century and widened in later centuries, but retaining its original form. Triangular cutwaters on the upstream side divide the current, and the bridge rises in a gentle humpback profile to the center span before descending to the far bank. Until the 19th century, this was the only crossing point on the Arga for kilometers in either direction. Every pilgrim, every merchant, every flock of sheep, every cart of grain, all of them crossed here on this bridge between these stone parapets. You step onto the bridge. The cobblestones are smooth and worn, shaped by 1,000,000 footsteps. Your feet find the shallow grooves left by centuries of passage. The stone is warm from the day's sun. Below you, the Arga flows green and clear over pale stones. The current breaks around the piers of the bridge, deepening into pools where the stone divides the flow. The sound of the water reaches you, a soft, continuous murmur. The river talking to itself as it has done since long before the bridge was built. You look upstream. The river bends away to the northeast, disappearing behind a stand of willows. Their branches trail in the current, leaves yellowing at the tips. You look downstream. The river straightens and widens, moving south through fields and pastures, carrying the reflection of the sky on its surface. You pause at the center of the bridge, the highest point. The river is below you, the town behind you, the open road ahead. The evening light falls across the water, turning it from green to gold. This is one of the finest Romanesque bridges in Spain. That is what the guidebooks say, and they are right. But standing on it, leaning against the stone parapet, listening to the river, you do not think about architecture or history. You think about how good it feels to stop. The bridge has carried every kind of traveler. Medieval pilgrims with their staffs and scallop shells, merchants with their mule trains, soldiers marching to wars that are now footnotes in history, farmers bringing their grain to market, children running across on a dare, and now you, with your backpack and your tired legs and your quiet thoughts. Your eyelids grow heavy. It is a natural heaviness, the weight of a long day well spent. You do not fight it. There is nothing to fight. The day is done, the bridge is crossed, the road is behind you. The air above the river is cooler. You feel it on your face, on your arms, a gentle coolness rising from the water. The sweat of the day dries on your skin, Your muscles, tight from the descent, begin to soften. A swallow dips beneath the arch of the bridge, skimming the water's surface, and rises again on the other side. Then another. They are nesting somewhere in the stonework, in the gaps between the old dressed blocks. They have made their home in the bridge, as so many others have made their home in this town. The river moves beneath you, unhurried and steady. It has worn these stones smooth. It has shaped the banks and deepened the pools and carried silt downstream to the fields beyond. The bridge stands in the river, and the river flows around the bridge, and neither one is troubled by the other. 24 kilometers. That is what you walked today from the streets of Pamplona to this bridge over the Arga, through wheat fields and up a mountain and down the other side, past a fortified church and a village emptied by plague and a ridge of singing turbines and a procession of metal pilgrims, through a mysterious octagonal chapel standing alone in a field, through the village where all the pilgrim roads become one. You crossed the highest point of the day and the lowest. You felt the wind on the ridge and the stillness in the valley. You touched stone that was carved 800 years ago and stone that was shaped by forces 55 million years before that. You walked through history and geology and the slow turning of the seasons, and all of it brought you here, to this bridge, to this moment. And now this bridge. This ancient, beautiful bridge, built by a queen for people she would never meet, so that they could cross a river safely on their way to somewhere far away. The light fades. The golden hour deepens toward amber. The shadows of the bridge arches lengthen on the water below, curving and darkening as the sun drops toward the western hills. Your body is heavy with the good weight of the day. Your legs are warm and tired. Your feet, inside their boots, pulse gently with each heartbeat. These sensations are not pain. They are the body settling, the way a house settles in the evening, its timbers cooling, its joints easing. The river murmurs beneath you. The sound is constant and soft, a low, liquid voice that does not rise or fall, does not pause, does not stop. Let it carry you. Let your eyes rest. The sound of the river is enough. It asks nothing of you. It tells no story that requires your attention. It simply flows as it has always flowed beneath this bridge, through this valley, toward the sea. The breeze moves through the town, gentle and warm. It stirs the leaves of the plane trees along the riverbank. It brushes against the stone parapets of the bridge. It touches your face, light as a hand. You have crossed mountains and rivers. You have walked through cities and villages and open fields. You have climbed to the place where the path of the wind crosses with the path of the stars, and now you rest. The fourth day is done. The bridge is beneath you, solid and sure, as it has been for 1,000 years. The river flows, the light fades, the air cools. Somewhere in the town behind you, a door closes softly. A window is lit with warm yellow light. The day's pilgrims are settling in for the night, finding their beds, easing their boots from their feet, letting the weariness of the road dissolve into rest. Tomorrow there will be more road, more villages, more churches, more fields, but tomorrow is tomorrow. Tonight there is only the sound of the river, the warmth of the stone, the gentle weight of your body at rest. Let your breathing slow. Let the rhythm of the water replace the rhythm of your footsteps. Let the day dissolve gently, like mist above the Arga, into the quiet of the evening. The river flows, the bridge holds, and you rest. You have walked from Pamplona to Puente la Reina. 24 kilometers of climbing and descending, wind and silence, Iron pilgrims on a ridge and a stone bridge over the Arga rest here, beside the river. Tomorrow, the path follows the valley south through Roman roads and wine country toward Estella. But that walk can wait. Tonight there is only the bridge and the river and sleep. This episode was produced by The Long Road. Sleep well and good night.